Hello everyone, welcome back to Altitude Scale Modeling, Part 11, B-17 Airfix build. Going to use a little bit of, it's probably going to be like an edit, where I'm going to show you, I'm going to put some Mr. Surfacer 1500 on my panel lines. Then I'm going to have to cut and let it dry. And then we're going to check how the panel lines look and do some rescribing. So here we go. Here's the B-17 as the last time you saw it. Wings on. Panel lines were filled and sanded. This was filled with styrene. So we're going to put some black Mr. Surfacer on here. Just paint it on there. It's 1500. Let it dry. It'll let us know what our panel lines look like. And then we'll go on and see if we need to do more filling, or if we can just get to sanding and scribing, primering. Sorry for the extra week delay in between, but if you watched my Hobby Zone modular workstation assembly, you'll know what I've been doing, reorganizing the cave, making it look a little bit better. So I'm just gonna paint this on like it was paint. Make sure I hit everywhere where there could be a panel line. This is also a filler, so any small gaps it should take care of. Any bigger gaps we'll have to redo. And you could also spray on some primer and see how it looks, but I like using this. It gives me a clearer view of what any panel lines look like. As you can see, this one here, I didn't sand it down yet, so I'm not going to put any of this on there right now because I still need to sand down that panel line. But this will help me see if I'm going to have more sanding to do, and then where I need to rescribe. La da 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 da. Hopefully the seams are all good. What I'll probably do after this dries, see if I need any filling. Maybe do a little sanding. Filling if necessary, and then primer. This stuff dries pretty quick, so it's not like this is going to take forever to sit around. And this Mr. Surfacer is really good. It does have a nice strong smell to it because it's, pretty sure it's lacquer based. And there's different levels. Oh, can't do that. Where's my jig? My jig. So, trying to see, it's all in Japanese, and keep away from heat. Use only in a well ventilated area. But it doesn't say what it's made of, because it probably does, but I don't speak Japanese, and I'm not turning Japanese. Although I do respect the Japanese. Well, I do now. I didn't, when the war was still fresh in our minds. But that was a long time ago. So far, like I said, I'm going to have to let this dry because it's going to have an eggshell effect, of course. It's going to be dry on top and still drying underneath. And since this is also a micro filler, any tiny little ones you can just overcoat. And it can do some filling for you. the wing roots look good. Oops, I forgot this one over here. And again, it's going to fill up some panel lines. We're just going to take our rescriber and rescribe it all. Make it look good. So far, I don't really see much in the way of panel lines anywhere. I think it's filling them up nicely. This one's going to need some more. This one may actually need some real filler, like the other side had. The other side had a big gap. This one just had a little gap. So I'm hoping this takes care of it. And of course, I didn't need to do it back here because that's not a panel line, that's a flap. Duh. So let's set that down. Put the lid on here. Move that over. Let's see. I need to clean my brush. And you're going to have to clean it with a good thinner or something. This is 99% isopropyl that I keep a little push bottle thing. It'll do a good job. Plus these are my old brushes I use for things like this. But you want it clean so you can do it again. There we go. And you can always use some when you're done. The Master's Brush Cleaner and Restore. I love that stuff. Okay, so that's all going to dry. Well, that's dry, and I'm going to turn this over. Sand this back a little bit. Using a medium sander. I just want to get this smooth. Now see, I didn't clean this off when I was done because I didn't want it to shrink in. And with this stuff, you can get it off of there pretty easy. You can rehydrate it using a little bit of rubbing alcohol. And it'll level it right down. And take your sander. Now that it's soft, it's going to come right up. Made this one ridge a little high right here, so I'm going to scrape it down. And you want to make sure it's flush, which it is there, and then I'll finish working on that off camera after the rest of this dries. Alright guys, I'm going to pause the camera and give this stuff, I want it to dry really good, so I'm going to give it a couple hours to dry and set. Then we'll start filming the cleanup and what we're going to do next. So, in your world, this will only be a moment. Alright, I'm back. I It's been more than a couple hours, but a couple days, but everything's dry, as you can see. All looking good, everything filled. Now, it gives the illusion that you can still see panel lines, but as you can see on this side that I've already sanded, run your fingernail across it. It feels all smooth. There's no gaps, no nothing, no clicking. So, what I'm doing is doing a light sand like this over where the line is, and buffing it up a little bit on that side, then taking an even finer one to make sure it's all smooth. Wiping off my dust. What you got? Because if your fingernail catches, you still got a seam line that'll be visible. So, flip her around and do this end. And I'm just lightly sanding right where the seam line is, letting the sander do the work. Because the black should have filled in any seam line that was left. This one I push a little harder on because I want some smoothness down. And if you really want to go smooth, you grab one of the buffers, the clean buffers. You get super smooth. But I don't need that smooth. So smooth it shines. And again, run your fingernail across the whole thing. If it catches, maybe here, right there a little bit. So that might need a little work, but that's not a seam, that's a height problem there. Flip it over. Same thing. And of course we have to rescribe some of these panel lines. Because we've also filled in these panel lines here. But again, perfectly smooth. Now, this is a little smaller area, so I'm going to need the smaller one. And then this one, it's got the skinnier end on it, so just flip to the other end. Perfect. This was all nice, so we're just going to leave it like it. Wing roots. I don't want to sand too much on them because a lot of detail. But those you're going to be able to go through and feel. And of course you want that clean because you're going to primer it soon. Oops, almost forgot this nose one. And we know this nose one was already pretty bad, so see how well we saved it. Perfect. That's the one we filled with plastic. Perfect. That one's got a little catch right there. I think we should be able to sand that down. There we go. Gone. Give it a little polish over. Good wipe down. Still a little bit of catch right there in the front. But you also need to remember there's a hole there for the antenna. So I think we're going to leave that one for right now. Alright. My elevator came a little loose. Clean up the hands. The sanders aside. Now for scribing, I prefer to have a flat surface, not the jig. My Hobby Zone scriber drawer. Nice flexible scribing tool for the lines. As you can see, I have many. So I'm going to take the trumpeter out because it's good for corners. And I think let's do the holly. Trumpeter one I bought from Trumpeter. Holly I got from probably E-models. So you want to line this up right where your other line is, because fortunately we have another line, and it runs. There's a panel right here, so it runs down the side. And you want to let the tool do the work, because if you put too much pressure on it, it's going to slip out of the line. Then you're going to have a bigger mess. And be careful of these holly scrapers, because they're like bird talons. See, just like that. Stab myself right there. See, that one's opened up. So now we just need to do that to all of these along the roof. Carefully. Don't stab yourself like I just did. Make sure you're in the line so everything's straight. And you really don't want to push down, because if you have putty in there, you're going to sink into the putty. Perfect. This one, we're going to have to go the other way. Just a few lines. You've got all your panel lines put back. Now, of course, we still need the back ones. Any place that got filled with the black filler is going to have to be reopened up. Alright, now if you have some rough edges, what I find works best, and I learned this trick from somebody online, just run a little Tamiya extra thin over all the freshly scribed lines, and it's going to dissolve the parts that were raised up. Obviously, keep your fingers away from it. It just takes patience. Don't rush it, or else you're going to have lines you don't want. So, all my top lines, like I said, I'm not going to touch those. I'm going to let those dry off. Doesn't really do much to the nose. The underneath is going to need a little bit. And I honestly can't remember where I got this. It was from one of the modeling shops. It's just a scriber ruler, essentially. Just a thin piece of metal with a slightly tapered edge. It's very flexible. And you want to make sure when you're scribing lines that you're still good all the way around and you're connecting to the curve part. Because the last thing you want to do is have your scriber line go out. Now here is where I have a problem. This line ends here, this line ends here. And I don't have the references really in front of me, so we're going to have to come back to that. So after I primer this, I'm going to look and see if this is out of line. And if it is, one of these is going to have to be removed. Or maybe they're both supposed to be there like that. I don't know. But look, I missed a part right here on sanding and cleanup. And my turret's not going to move. I'm going to replace those guns, but I still don't want to rip them off deeper down inside. So we're just going to be slow and careful. And that's all good, except right here, there's a little edge up, just like there is there. So, we want to get rid of that height. It's not the seam line, it's the height of that edge. The fit wasn't perfect. There we go. Just took a little sanding down to get it right. A little polishing to smooth it out. A little wiping to make it go away. You want to make sure there's no sanding lines in there. There's a seam line that runs here, here, and there's a square right there. So this one's going to be a little trickier because you have a defined square. And you don't want to go outside that square. You can see I went a little bit outside of it, but I don't think it's noticeable. It won't be when it's painted, because I only did a light scribe. I didn't get in deep into it. Alright. And you have to find a position that's comfortable for you to scribe in. I'm going to do this top one first, then connect the longer lines. But if you're not comfortable, you will mess up. Okay, then it's just connecting those two lines right there. There you go. There they go. And against this one. The other one looks deeper than this one, so. Okay, give a little Tammy touch to clean up these edges. I always clean off the tip of my brush if I get a little color on it, or else my Tamiya turns colors. Okay, one more back here. And then some up front. Like I said, wherever the black got into where it didn't need to fill, but it did fill because that's its natural tendency, you're just basically going to have to clean up. And I like this scribing tool because it's got a way to hold it. It's like holding a little pencil type thing almost. Just don't cut yourself like I did a minute ago. I used to be afraid of scribing, but when I find tools that I'm comfortable with, the fear went away, and now I've got neat panel lines with a little bit of an edge. And almost missed the ones at the back. You gotta make sure you got time to do all this. Sit yourself down, put on some music if you like, or maybe a background movie. And I don't know if you saw that, but this moved. As soon as it started to move, I picked up. So I was going like this, and it twisted and I lifted. Because you don't want to have a big gouge in your work. There you go. All scribed up and ready to go. So, I think the seam lines are okay now. We'll find out when I get a complete layer of primer down. I'm going to use gray primer. If I was going to use a metallic finish, I'd use gloss black primer, but I'm going to use olive finish, so I'm going to use gray primer. You could also use the flat black primer for the whole thing, but I think that's going to shadow it up too much. So my next step, I forget where I put my parts. I just reorganized my bench parts. So, all these clear parts need to go in. Which is test fitting. So that one fits really good. I forget where my tail section's at too. Come on, there's half. There's half. So, the tail parts are going to slide right on here. I just cut them off the sprue didn't really clean them up, so I'm going to clean them up now. So that one looks okay. So for this, I'm going to use a Tamiya Quickset because it'll get in there. Capillary action will work, and it won't have time to fog the parts. And it'll go right along with capillary action. Okay, set that right there. I need a quick peek at the instructions. Okay, so here's the tail section I just did. There's another section that goes on there with the guns in place, so I'm going to temporarily glue that with crystal clear, so I can pop it back off and put the guns in. I'm going to temporarily glue this onto the back for the same reason. It's okay, that's not clear. Sides I already got on. I'm going to temporarily glue the nose on because I'm going to put the guns in later. And same with the cowls, temporarily glue them on. And I didn't see. Looking for the front glass. Here's the top gun, the dome. It'll need to go in. Front glass. So there's the antenna I was talking about for that one hole you don't want to mess up. Okay. So this is the back part where the guns come out. And what I usually do with this, give it a good shake. Let me put my scraping tool out of the way. You know, toothpick holders, Old Spice jars. There's a use for everything in modeling. Just empty out a spice jar when you're done, wash it dry really good. Put your toothpicks in and shake it up. A few will come out, but you'll need to grab one, or if your one hand's busy, there you go. Tip of the day, Old Spice jars for holding your toothpicks. Or you can go buy a toothpick holder, it'll do the same thing. So I'm just gonna gently put on this. As you can see, I've got everything masked, and I let the glue go to the inside because I'm just going to clean it up when I'm done. Let that dry, and my armor's glued to the back. And the nose cone, same thing. I'm gonna not too much because I want to make a huge mess, but enough to hold it in place. Because when you're priming and painting, you just want these things popping off. And you're going to take that, put it on there. Now you got to let these dry for a while. And this one is going to need liquid mask here, here, and here. So once it's dry, I will do that. And you see I just moved it because I moved everything. But liquid mask once it's dry. So I'm going to put plane back on the jig. Let everything start drying. Start putting the rest of this glass in. And next time you see me, I'll have the cowls put on temporarily. All the glass in. Whatever other parts need to be put on for the paint process. The primer process. So next time you see me, I'll have a booth and we'll primer. Thanks for watching, everyone. Sorry it took so long, but here we go, part 11.